Hello and welcome to Willow Talk. Thank you so much for listening. Producer Sam Ferris here with Brad Haddin. Feathers away. No feathers today.
Yeah, well, we've lost our captain.
We've lost our captain. Yeah.
We've lost both captains, so last man standing. So you're closest to the door, Sam. I might be following you, but yeah, we've lost Adam. The news about Healy was disappointing because watching her close through the first couple of one days, she's just starting to get some real rhythm in the game. But keeping was world class. So it's disappointing for her, but also for the team in such a marquee event. So let's hope she's available. Even if she doesn't play the 22, I hope she's available for the Test series.
Yep, for the Test match.
Even if she can't keep.
Yeah.
Maybe she goes to opening.
I was going to say opening the batting, yeah.
And Beth Mooney takes the glove. She can pop down the order because she's got the added responsibility. Yep. So, mate, I'd still love once to see Healy opening a Test match. I think if she bats the first session, the Test match is over.
And she's got a sore foot, so has to bat boundaries, yeah.
Perfect.
That's the only way to do it. Big show coming up today. We've got a bit of a Steve Smith injury update ahead of that Sri Lanka series. Then we're going to look at how Australia retained the women's Ashes in a very dry Sydney Hads.
It wasn't dry after the game. I can tell you that. They had a day off and a bus trip down to Canberra. So we'd like to get to the bottom of that. That would have been one of the best ones. But another one we've got today, I'm looking forward to a chat with young Jordan Buckingham.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a character of the game. He's got a bit of spunk about him. And I reckon, I know he's got the Australian A game this week. And, mate, I wouldn't be surprised with his record in A cricket, but he'll get right into these poms. It'll be a good one. Yeah, he'll get under their skin.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a send-off or two, put it that way.
Get into it.
We're going to have a bit of a, this is a bit on Tuesday's show. There were some accusations made about me not wearing a shirt. We'll address that in a second. But we're going to dive into our...
HR addressed it.
I'm wearing one today, the Willow Talk shirt, actually. Yeah. We're going to dive into a bit of a nerd corner and talk to you, Hads, about how you go about a net session.
You've rostered Peacock for a day off to have this nerd session, haven't you?
Who? He might not come back depending how well it goes. And we'll obviously talk about the BBL, the Sixers getting, well, they're not bounced out just yet, but they're on the ropes, and the Hurricanes to host the final, and our Sundries. Before we get into it, a big thank you, as always, for listening to Willow Talk. No matter what device, platform, service you consume Willow Talk on, we really, really appreciate it. If you enjoy the show, hit follow and subscribe and leave us a rating, review, or comment. We see them all and appreciate them all, don't we, Hads? Lots of messages.
Mate, we get the good and the bad. We'll take the good and the bad.
Yeah. We get so many messages now about times that you're a good bloke. So I got a message the other day about someone, you're helping out a guy with his bats, and someone wanted him cut down, his dad. And I said, you're ruining his reputation. We can't take the piss out of you if everyone keeps saying you're a good bloke.
Mate, don't judge people for what they do in the field. Didn't your mum and dad always judge people on face value?
Yep. Next week, we'll be coming to you on Tuesday afternoon so we can wrap up the BBL final and preview that first test in Sri Lanka. Then regular programming on Thursday morning as we look ahead to that historic day-night women's test match at the MCG. Got a couple of good guests next week. I won't say who just yet, just in case, but I reckon there'll be a lot of good stories coming out of the interviews.
Stories worry me.
Next week. Keep sending your cricket club caps in. I've got the, what am I wearing? The Napa Valley Cricket Club. One of my favourites. Send them in. What do you got on, Hads?
I got Northern Districts.
Yeah, I like that one.
I got the club I played for. They got their anniversary next year, 100 years.
100 years.
Yeah, so it'll be a big dinner. There'll be all the ex-greats, Mark Taylor, Peter Taylor, I'd imagine be at the dinner. So that'll be one not to miss.
You know what I like about that hat, and I'm sure you appreciate it as well? The blue.
Well, that's why it's on.
That's why it's on. And just finally clear a few things up. I did keep my shirt on for most of Tuesday's episode from the producer's booth. No cameras out there, Bradley.
Well, I might have something that might arrive next time we're on as well that does prove you have your shirt off.
I have no idea what that is, but that'll be interesting.
Well, I think you do, so we might get it up next week. But if I was you, I'd be very, very nervous.
Always.
Have you ever watched The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Ever seen Montgomery Burns with his shirt off?
I don't have any tattoos, put it that way. The wisdom tattoos got removed with a cheese grater. All right. Steve Smith update. Good news coming out of Dubai. He's good to go. he spoke to Andrew Ramsey, the great Andrew Ramsey over there in Dubai, and explained how he hurt his elbow throwing in that Sixers match against the Thunder last Friday. He said it felt like when he ruptured his ligament in 2019, so obviously sent some alarm bells off there. But scans came back. They show his ligament's intact. There's some muscle damage, and I think there's like a 1 millimeter tear or something there, but nothing too concerning. He says he also copped a blow from Jai Richardson in a BBL game, which bruised his shoulder. So he seems to think that maybe the elbow overcompensated for his shoulder because he couldn't throw properly. He says he'll probably stop him throwing, but batting should be fine. He'll tape it up. Great news for Australia. Hads.
Oh, it's great news. On a couple of fronts. One, you need his cricket nous over their captaincy. He captains really well. He's got a good understanding of the way you play in the subcontinent because it's different. It's different the way you use your bowlers. It's different angles you need to use with the spinners. And they'll need him there. And he's had success. He's done well in India captaining and the batting. As long as he can bat, we're okay. He'll spend a lot of time in slip over there. Most of the game, probably all the game, except for the fast bowlers probably, but you'll have a slip. You can have your short mid-wicket, short cover. So he won't have to throw. It was a bit concerning, it would be for him, because he had that surgery in 2019. And you don't want someone like Steve Smith to be out for an extended period of time, but mate, all's good. He's in Dubai now. It'll be interesting with his golf, whether he can still play his golf. That'll be the big question, especially with a week in Dubai with the courses over there. But great news, he's back. It sounds like he'll be in a little bit of discomfort, but the main thing is he can bat.
You're a wicketkeeper. You would have played most, if not all, your test matches with a bit of injury, some sort of niggle. How much does that play on your mind? Is when you cross that line, does it go to your mind, or do you sometimes you might not dive for a catch, or you might do this? Does it change your attitude at all?
Sometimes in training, you do. You favour it, but once you get into the heat of battle, you tend to forget about it. He'll be uncomfortable, but the test matches on the line, you'll just naturally react because you're such a competitive beast. And all that Steve Smith's greatness is the one thing about him. He's so competitive. He's competitive in everything he does, whether it's golf, drinking his coffee first. He's a winner. It won't affect him. Once he's out there, if he has to dive, if he has to throw, he will. I remember Andrew Simons did his bicep before the 2007 World Cup, and he came back halfway through the tournament, and he ended up only throwing a couple of balls, but he came in a bit closer in the field. His presence was still there, and people didn't run because of his reputation anyway. He'll get through it. He's smart enough, and mate, all reports are that he's right to go.
Yeah. He was also speaking about what he's going to be working on in the nets in Dubai leading up to that first test match. And something that stood out for me was he's working on his reach. That's one of the things he'll have to adapt to over in Sri Lanka. Why is the reach in particular so important in those conditions?
Well, I think what he's talking about there's two things. The one thing they'll work on most is trusting your defence. On those wickets, I'll need to find a method that the best players in spinning conditions, yes, they need to find their scoring options, but that comes off the back of trusting your defence.
Yep.
And that's what Steve Smith's talking about. The reach is making sure he gets his bat right in front of his pad to take out those short catches on the offside and the leg side. But the big thing with the camp will be finding a way that you trust your defence, and then finding a way where your scoring areas are. And I remember playing in a series in India, and I remember saying to Mickey Arthur, his big thing was to get through 20 balls. And I said, well, I'm not going to get through 20 balls here. But if mid-off and mid-on are up, it's a safe shot for me to hit straight over the top. And if I did that, then one of them will go back, and that's where I could get off. That was my option to get off strike. And that's what they'll talk about. There'll be a lot of informal conversations. There'll be a lot of formal ones, but it'll be a lot around where you can get off strike and trust in your defence.
So you thinking attack first in those for you?
No, I was thinking what's my best option to survive. But if mid-off and mid-on were up, it was hard for me to get off strike. But if I could move one of them back, that gave me an option to get to the other end. And you don't want to give bowlers 18 balls or 20 balls where you're playing dot. Then
Yeah.
Pressure starts to build, but you need to find a way, and some will lap. Some will lap to get a 45 in, and they can hit into mid-wicket to get off strike. But you got to find a way that works. It'll be different. Travis Head will just try to hit him in the stand.
Yeah.
And he's done that over the last 2.5 years. He's hit, everything he's tried to hit has gone miles. So they'll all come up with different options and way that they, like Alex Carey's a big sweeper. But his might be opposition know that now. And they'll plug that, so that might take his scoring option. So does he have to find somewhere else? So that's what the camp will be. It'll be some pretty intense training around that. There'll be a lot of mistakes made. There'll be a lot of discussions around what works.
Who's the batter that when you watched and they racked up a few dot balls, you could see ticking over in the that big shot was coming?
Mate, this is coming. Both little men on your shoulder say, you have one saying don't do it, one going, Had, you can clear that long on. But if I had a couple of dots, both of them are saying you can clear long on, and then you get caught.
No ground's big enough.
Mate, one of the best I seen work it out was Damien Martin. Like Haydos, remember, he swept. He just swept India. And Damien Martin didn't have a great run in India. And then he turned that around to have a great record. But he played back.
Yeah.
So there's different options. And that's what these camps are. And they'll be very prepared when they get there. But I remember Marta used to play back, use his hips and sort of play French cricket so he could hit the ball. But mate, then his record against Murali and Sri Lanka and everyone was as good as anyone. And then there are different learnings that Steve Smith and Marnus and Uzi's another actually great example.
Yeah.
He didn't start his career great in the subcontinent, but now he's a great player of spin. So all that information will go in the middle and then they'll all start to work out what works.
You see Uzi play off the back foot a fair bit, actually, don't you?
Yeah, he does. He plays off the back foot, gets the front part of his body away so he can bring his hands and bat into play.
Another left-hander over there is Cooper Conley, and he did a bit of a chat over there. Revealed his nickname is Coops, but also Jaws and Luna Park. Got a fair old smile on him, old Cooper Conley. Big grin.
Big grin, yeah. Jaws as well. He's from Perth, and there's sharks everywhere. I don't know, but mate, he's another one over there.
Toothy grin, yeah.
Yeah, he's it's going to be a good tour for him. He's going to learn a lot. He'll come back a much better player. But mate, he'd be loving being around these boys.
Yeah.
But yeah,
nobody wishes ill on anybody. We know that. But I tell you what, if Matt Kuhneman doesn't get over there,
Matt Kuhneman's going.
Well, if he doesn't pull up, all right.
He might get.
Cooper Conley might get a game.
Well, he might get an opportunity as an all-rounder batting at 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I remember like part-time spin to have that option. Travis Head got his best figures over there last time and bowled a straight to victory.
That's where the finger and the bucket of ice originated from.
So,
I think.
Part-time spinners can be hard to play because they're not as consistent, but you're not quite sure how much it's going to turn. And if Conley and I imagine me working on owning the stumps, and as a left arm orthodox, some will go straight and some will turn. You talk about the getting done on the outside. It's actually not that one. It's the one that goes straight on. So yeah, he's gonna. It's gonna be interesting how they use him because I know he's young, but he might play a bigger role in this series than we think.
I'm loving these debutants. McSweeney, Constas,
Yeah.
Webster. Let's get another one in there.
Yeah,
Conley.
fresh faces are good.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a training camp over there in Dubai before they head to Sri Lanka so they can control the conditions. Boot camp aside, pre-2006-7 Ashes Hads, which we've spoken about a bit. We can probably speak about it more, but keep that one aside for this moment. Any other memorable training camps you've been on?
Training camps. Well, I had a good one in Malaysia, actually, in 2007.
Yeah.
We had we had one there leading into the World Cup. They took a big squad. It was, and you went over there. You had India and West Indies playing, so some high quality cricket as well. But mate, we've had ones over there where you go over, get away, you take a big squad. You got your trainers and everyone, and you get a lot of good quality work away. But most tours now you have a little camp to get ready, whether they're up in at the Centre of Excellence in Brisbane. But the UAE's a big one now, especially if you're going to the subcontinent, because you get the different surfaces to work on. And also, when you go on a subcontinent tour, it's good to the players to get the high quality work on and you push them hard in the heat, but then they got some downtime with the golf courses and different activities that can do before you're pretty much in lockdown when you get to places like Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that Malaysia tri-series, that was kind of like the arrival of Mitchell Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah,
He just
debut.
steamrolled
Yeah.
India and the West Indies. I remember that game against the Indians, and he got Tendulkar bowled, swinging him through the gate.
Yeah.
I think he got Sehwag with a sharp bounce. He was bowling serious heat there.
Yeah, he was good.
He was good. So that's the Steve Smith Australia cricket team, men's cricket team update there. Let's go to the women's side now. And Hads, we sit here with the women's Ashes firmly retained in our grasp, having done the business over there at the SCG again on a nice dry Sydney night.
Always.
Australia won by 57 runs. Beth Mooney, player of the match, was 75 from 51. Georgia Wareham took 3 wickets. Alana King 2. Australia used 6 bowlers and they all took a wicket. It just shows the depth and versatility of the team there. Had you commentating for Triple M. What were your takeaways from that game?
Attitude. It is as simple as that. Take away the batting and bowling for a second. It was how athletic Australia were in the field and their willingness to put themselves in a position to make a difference.
Yep.
Perry's run out was a perfect example. That hit it out to her in the deep. She just beeline for it, aggressive, one-hand pickup, run out coming back from the two, and that was the difference. Australia outplayed them with the bat and ball. That's standard because of the high quality of this Australian team, but it was their attitude. And you could see coming out of that World Cup, Australia were hurting.
Yep.
Mate, they were here to mean business, and their attitude reflected that. Even watching both teams warm up, Australia was sharp. It was high intensity, and then they were done and they were off. England looked like they were just doing things for the sake of doing things, and the results reflect that. Not many of us picked.
I'll wait for this.
Australia to go through undefeated, but we'll come to that later. But yeah, it was just a dominant display on the back of attitude.
I think we get a group chat message every time Australia win. It's 2-0, 4-0, 6-0, 8-0 from Brad Haddin. So looking forward to one on.
Well, I hope they bring the same intensity. They had a bus ride down
to Canberra.
To Canberra.
Well, you're the king of Canberra, mate. You can tell them where to go, what to do down there.
Actually, Queen
Bin.
But they would have had a good time. They would have enjoyed their success because
they deserve it.
Well, they deserve it off the bat. Like that was a shock loss to them at the last World Cup.
Yeah.
And they came back and they took it on the chin, and now they're a better team. They're a better team for it. We've seen a few little changes. Young Phoebe Lynchfield went up to number 3, and I liked the way they batted. Like Moody, Beth Mooney played outstanding. She controlled the innings, but everyone else who came in went from ball one.
Yeah,
that they took the game on. They weren't worried about whether they'd get out, and then there's a couple of contributions like 20 off 15.
Yeah, Tali McGrath.
Even Grace Harris at the end, she was 14 off 6 or something. But it was those little moments just so, you know what, this team is playing together.
Team first.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yep.
Yeah. The big news out of that game happened before the game. I mean, obviously retaining the Ashes, but yeah, Alyssa Healy ruled out of that game, and her participation in the rest of the series now in doubt. So she's hurt that plantar fascia injury that she had not too long ago. Yeah, we don't really know when she's going to come back, whether it be this series, maybe she'll rest up. I mean, she hasn't been ruled out yet, so there's a chance that she plays probably the test match. I think we can rule the one day, the T20s out. Australia won without her, but has just her presence and her experience. How big a loss of that for Australia?
I think she's one of our best players, and she's the leader.
Yeah.
And knowing the work that she did to get right for this series is disappointing, and she's just finding some rhythm in the game as well. Her keeping was outstanding.
Yeah.
The whole series up to the stumps. She did some real sharp work. So never in any series you like to lose your leader, especially knowing the work that she did leading into this series and the importance she put on it. She won't be lost to the squad. You need your captain around, especially now. Yes, it's over. So the Ashes is over, and it can go a couple of ways. But watching the team, I think that they'll really celebrate the success.
Yep.
And I reckon the captain will drive that. But then it's about making a whitewash. It's a really big statement to world cricket, and these girls deserve it. The way they played, they've dominated the series. 300 runs are the highest total they've scored against England at Belle So, mate, they've had some great performance. Ash Garden didn't play the other night as well.
Bun calf,
Yeah, so she's a world-class performer as well. So they can only get better.
Yep. Providing opportunities for these young players, and it's pretty scary when they're full strength, just how good they are. So fingers crossed for Heels. Hopefully we see you back soon. Good chance she'll be on Willow Talk next week either way. So we can get the full update from her then. England, though, Hads, not that we really care. They're in all sorts. They haven't held the Ashes. Shaking your head. Haven't held the Ashes since 2017. Haven't got a point on tour. Heather Knight, she's a champion of a game, obviously, but she's lost 14 of her last 18 ODIs against Australia as captain. Hasn't got a slightly better record in T20s. Do they need to change it up? Does it get to the point now where it's like, let's just start again, refresh? And if so, who takes the helm there?
Well, this Australian team is a dominant team. Heather Knight's record against other countries is great.
Yep.
It's just finding a way to beat this Australian team. And you remember in last Ashes, they came out with an attitude of no fear and be willing to lose the game. And that's something that I think they need to get back to. But I think they need to get back to what that looks like.
Yep.
They hit a high percentage of boundaries, England. So they're looking to play a power game and take it up to Australia. But you can do other things as well to make yourself a bit more intimidating in the contest. You can create a better presence in the field. You can run harder between wickets and manipulate the field. So then your boundaries, you work towards them, and then they become thick and fast. But yeah, their attitude hasn't been great.
Yep.
You just have to look at the fielding. They've been sloppy in the field. They dropped a lot of catches. But last time in England, it was the attitude was spot on. They walked into this great Australian team and took it on. So I haven't seen that this series.
Alex Hartley, now she's a former England player, former World Cup winning spinner, and now she's a pundit. She's out here commentating the Ashes, and she was a little bit critical of England's exit at their World Cup. They got bounced out as well, and questioning the fitness of the team back then hasn't gone down with the current England team. Hartley said that England spinner Sophie Eccleston refused to do a TV interview with her, and that she's been hung out to dry by England. Some players won't even look at her now. Players and coaches won't even look at her on the boundary edge. Not all players. She said some are good, but some of them don't even eye contact.
Truth hurts.
Yeah. Well, what's your read on this, Hads?
Well, what I watched the other night, Australia were far superior athletically.
Yeah.
It was simple as that. That the way they put themselves in position to influence the game in the field, the way they caught, it was superior to England. It was simple as that. And that's one thing you can control. You can control your athleticism and how you pick your squads. It's what are you looking for when you pick a squad? Are you looking for someone that bowls well or bats well, or are you looking for bowling, batting is very important, but how they contribute to the group? It's interesting that they haven't spoken to Alex and some won't. Maybe the bigger person is what did you see?
Yeah,
she's not saying this from any malice. I think she's saying it from an ex-England cricketer saying, I want you guys to do well, and this is what I've seen from the outside. So maybe the maturity level around their coaches and their players are, mate, come in for a coffee. Tell us what you see. You don't have to agree with it.
Yeah.
But someone who's watched as much cricket as she has, maybe ask.
Yeah.
And if out of that conversation you take one little thing to get the side better, you haven't got a point. So ask sometimes the best answer from people looking in.
Yeah.
None of this comes from any malice. This just comes from wanting to see England do well. So I would say, mate, ask questions. Ask what you've seen. You don't have to agree with it, but you can listen And the attitude of not talking just shows maybe where they're at with the immaturity in the group. Another thing is be careful because that's where your money comes from.
That's true. And that's what Alex said, that she's not coming from a place of malice. She just wants England to do better. And right now the gap is quite large between a very athletic Australian team and an England team that, as you said, been pretty sloppy in the field.
Yeah, well, I know. And every generation of Australian cricketers, yes, you're paid to get an opinion on it. But if they don't agree, and I remember times going to Ian Healy, Steve Rickson, saying, mate, what do you see in the game from afar? And then they give you the answer. They're not coming from, they don't, no one wants anyone to fail.
That's right.
But the immaturity shown about maybe deep down, these players know that they haven't done the work. Maybe they have.
Yeah.
But have the conversation in private. Go and talk. Say, what do you see? Easy.
Yep.
You don't have to agree with it. But a sign of a mature cricketer and someone who wants to do well for the environment, ask.
Yeah. Yeah. How hard has it had? You've been on both sides of the fence. Player, former player, now pundit. How hard is it treading that line, being critical or giving your opinion on teams and teammates that you've played with and against?
No, you give an opinion on what you've seen out there. Mate, as you know, and Alex the same, you want Australia to win every game.
Yeah.
You want the teams you played for, Sixers or New South Wales, to win every game. It's and it was the same when you came through.
Did you ever cop it from a former player that you thought was a little bit unfair, unnecessary?
Yeah, the majority of the time when someone's given it to you, or said something that you feel uncomfortable with, is the reason you feel uncomfortable is because it's a bit deep down in your guts that you actually know.
Yeah.
But if they have a problem, you go and talk to them. You say, "What have you seen?"
You'd sound them out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you seen? Don't act like a child. And don't talk to someone because they had an opinion on the game.
Yeah. Good advice. Let's have a quick drinks break. Mull on that. I'll be back in a sec. Back here on Willow Talk, Brad Haddin, producer Sam Ferris with his shirt on. Let's talk about the Big Bash. And we're recording this on Wednesday before the Stars Thunder match. So by the time you hear this, you'll know who is going to take on the Sydney Sixers in the grand final qualifier. This segment would have led the show had the Sixers won, but they got beat by the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I changed the rundown.
Quick little copy-paste switch job there. The Hurricanes very impressive down there in that grand final qualifier. The Hurricanes will now host on Monday the 27th. The Hurricanes posted 7 for 173. Ben McDermott, Caleb Jewell, Mitch Owen among the runs. Let's just pause there for a sec. Brad, Mitch Owen, holy shit, can he hit a ball?
Yeah, I was there to watch his 100.
Right.
And he's powerful. He hit a couple of balls out of the ground. And now that they're in the final, I sat back and went through some stuff. Like last year, the Brisbane Heat won. And with the new 4-over power play in the last few years, there's one player in each team that goes out and just is trained to go from ball one. Yep. Mitch Owen is the same as Josh Brown. He's got a license to go. Even they were 40 off 3 overs or something.
Flying, yeah.
Last night, and you say, he should have gone on, but he did his role. That allows your batsman behind to get in and then go. So he's got a lot of power. He's playing a similar role to Josh Brown, and that's what teams have started to do. They've sacrificing a wicket in that first 4 overs just to train to go from ball one. Mate, and when he hits the ball, it was interesting. The other night, he opened up the offside as well. Yeah. So powerful leg side, but mate, the Mitch Owen one's also a lot of credit's got to go to your staff. Before the start of the season, he batted at 6 and 7 and bowled a bit. He's great in the field, but to be brave enough to throw him up there and see something, it's just the edge that they needed, and they've been consistent. They haven't lost at home this year. They've lost to the game to the Stars away, but they were gone. They were on a Kentucky tour. They tried a few things. And the other game they lost was a lottery at Geelong, where the wicket was. And I remember talking to Nathan Ellis, and Jeff Vaughan, the coach, said, you know what? We're not going to analyse this game. We just put that aside. Our season starts game 2 because it was one of those surfaces that you can't blow everything up that you did in this off season, but they got a good mix of senior players. You got Wade there. You got Nathan Ellis has done a really good job.
Yeah,
their bowling attacks really well balanced, and Riley Meredith. Like sometimes you see the gun hit 152, and you think, but that was one of those occasions where, mate, you're up before you bat doing a couple of knee tucks and practicing your shot, practicing ducking. There's a ball that was nicked, and they had no third man. I don't know if you remember it, and it carried to the 30-yard circle.
Yeah.
And you just went, hang on a minute, this is that pace. And the first ball to Jordan Silk.
Yeah.
The bouncer that got rid of Josh Phillip, he's grown up in the West.
Yep.
Mate, he bowled some gas. So they deserve where they are. Sixers, there's some good things that come out of it. Mate, they were 3 for 5.
Yeah.
And young Lockie Shaw, he's a bit of a Jordan Silk clone in the field.
He's good, isn't he?
So both Silk got his first 50 of the year. Lockie Shaw got his high score. And he's got something different about him. Just watching the way he played, it's great to have youth in your team sometimes because they're not worried about 3 for 5 or whatever the score. They're just thinking, wow, I've got the opportunity to play and get a big run. So, mate, he hits in different spots. He's got all the tricks. But, mate, Sixers were in that game. They gave the Hurricanes a bit of a scare. The good thing to come out of it, it'd be a packed house at the SCG where they dominate.
Yeah. That'll be, imagine the Thunder get up, or they've got up, another derby.
Oh, yeah.
When it goes to the grand final.
Oh, yeah. How good.
Everything on the line. We saw some terrific catching in that game. Jack Edwards, a stunner backward point to get rid of Matthew Wade. That's a very late contender for catch of the summer, but right up there.
Yeah.
Ben McDermott took a good one too.
Well, Ben McDermott took a classic catch, mate. That ball was flying. Technically, it was perfect. Don't wet your pants here, but technically it was perfect. He went behind himself, let his weight go with it.
A keeper. That's the keeper's catch.
Keepers in slips aren't always that good either.
Oh, really?
Jack Edwards, mate, one-hander.
Oh.
There's another thing to look at that as well. There was Matthew Wade, the importance of that.
Yeah.
Mate, we've seen some unbelievable fielding, some great athleticism, some great reflexes. I've had a look at all the catches. I still can't go past Maxie's.
Yeah, I was just thinking, what's the top 3 in the summer? But that's probably number 1.
Like you can go, Edwards. Those hit it hard. He moved. He was off the ground. The big fella. That's
Stoinis took a good catch running back the other night.
Yeah, Stoinis. That Will Sutherland's taken a couple of absolute screamers. But I had a look at Maxie's, and we're not given enough airtime.
Yeah.
The reason. Good catch by Glenn Maxwell because it's Glenn Maxwell. But to get the time in and do that right, it's. I don't think you'll see a better catch. Jack's was reflex, and it hit right in the middle. But Maxie's, mate, I can't go past that because it looks, flicked it up. I jumped out, popped it back.
But he caught it one-handed.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
But he caught it one hand.
It sort of came with the ball, didn't he?
With the pace, the angle of the ball, and like that to me is as good as catches as you'll get.
One not so great catch was in the stands, and didn't see it. Did you see this one?
Yeah.
Old mate.
Nosedived in the concrete.
Yeah.
He's at every game.
I know. Like, he would come up and ask me for autographs. Yeah. He knows everybody involved in cricket.
Mate, he's got tattoos of Shield winning teams.
Stuff, but poor guy went straight in the guts, and he spilled it and then fell down the concrete stairs.
I tell you what, the way the players hit the ball, like with your kids, you got to be close.
That was a traceable.
Yeah, it was. But
Mitch Owen.
Mate, he'll go viral.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. All right, so. As we said, we don't know the result of the Stars Thunder game, but if it is a Sydney derby, Hads will be there with the magenta body paint all over. Let's go to our chat with Jordan Buckingham. Great chat with Geordie, a rising star of Australian cricket, an Australia A specialist. Here's Geordie. Joining us now is South Australia and Adelaide Strikers fast bowler Jordan Buckingham, who has just re-signed with the Strikers for another season. G'day, Geordie.
G'day, gents. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. We spoke a little bit earlier about nicknames in the show. What do you go by?
Yeah, pretty simple mine. I think mine just followed on from my old man's nickname. He was obviously a cricket coach as well when he was younger, and I hung around a fair bit. So just Bucky, just abbreviated my last name.
Jordan, before we get into Big Bash, what I've seen a real change in attitude this year from the Adelaide boys. You got your new coach Ryan Harris there. We know he's a passionate man, but what's been the big turnaround in the belief in the group?
Yeah, I think a few years ago it's probably we had a fair amount of squad turnover, and we sort of lost your Frankie Worrells and your Joe Mennies and whatnot. A lot of experienced players went out, so I think it was always the aim of the Saka to bring in some new faces from interstate. Obviously, straight away, you'd be asking a fair bit for that team to just gel and win a shield in their first year when we've got guys from Queensland, Victoria, Sydney, wherever it is. So I think it's just taken us 2 or 3 years to gel and get used to how each other plays, and I guess what we do well as a team and what the team needs from us at that point of time. So I think just everything's starting to click a little bit now, and hopefully we can start to win some trophies and bring some trophies back to South Australia.
Yeah, you talk about bringing players from interstate, and cricket's a different game now where the opportunities in franchise cricket, your contract systems allows you to move states. But how's that seen from the South Australian lads where guys are coming in and getting opportunities? Can it be uncomfortable, or is that something that you speak about when you all arrive?
I think it just makes the group tighter, to be honest, because we've got a fair contingent of interstate players. A lot of guys don't have family here and whatnot. So the South Australian boys have been mighty accepting of us. You know, Heady, Carey, Nielsen, Limo, they're all South Australia through and through. So, I guess to have them around the group still and still playing when they can. And then to have us interstate boys who are a pretty tight-knit group because we don't have a lot of friends and family here in South Australia. I guess to have them there and to be out in the park with them and winning, I think we've all bought into the South Australian culture over here. And I guess now, 3 or 4 years in, we're probably proud to say that we are South Australian.
So are you Coopers or West End man?
Much to the disgust of the association, I'm a Coopers man. I can't drink West End, but I know they're a long-term
That's
sponsor,
why you'll be good on Triple M.
Yeah.
You're a Victorian by native Victorian, Jordan. Tell us about growing up. You said your dad was a coach. What were the early days and entry into cricket?
Yeah, for me it was always footy cricket. And by footy I mean AFL. I know I say footy here, and a lot of guys think I'm talking about NRL. So it was always footy in the winter, cricket in the summer here. I was never really any good at footy or cricket, to be honest. I sort of was a bit of a late bloomer, and I got to the the top age of the under-19 nationals when I finally started to find my feet at that level a little bit and start playing some first grade cricket. For me it was just I got a brother around my age as well, and my mum and dad were both very sporty themselves. So growing up in the backyard playing all sorts of sports. And then trying to play as many sports as I could for as long as possible before cricket sort of took over when I was about 20 or 21.
So why the move to South Australia?
Well, basically I didn't really get a look in Victoria. I wasn't really even on a second 11 game radar or anything like that. So South Australia, Sean Williams, the selector who still is now at the moment, he come over and watched a couple of Premier Cricket games, and obviously they sort of like what they seen, and they offered me a 2-year rookie contract. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I sort of had a pact with my parents that if I got offered a deal interstate ever, that I'd definitely take it. So, and South Australia being so close, it was a no-brainer for me.
And I've been watching your career. If you could play every game for Australia A, mate, you'd be in the Australian team right now. I mean, your record for Australia A is through the roof.
Yeah, George mentioned something when he called me the previous time about it. He sort of said, "No pressure, but you've gone pretty well at this level, so hopefully you continue to to do that. Yeah, I've got pretty lucky. I think there was a PM's 11 game last year, which was a first class game, and I got 5 wickets, and I think I got 4 strangles down the leg side. So
Don't tell anyone that.
yeah.
And you got the opportunity again to play the Australian A, this time against the Lions. This is different, this one. This is sheep stations when you play against England. This is when you got to make them uncomfortable. Mate, if you have to tell them how to get off the field when you get them out, that's all well and good in this sort of game. But these are great opportunities, these games, especially in the next 12 months because you've got an Ashes campaign.
Yeah, certainly. I think I guess any time you wear the green and gold in any way, it's obviously a really proud moment for me and my family, to be honest, because they ride every single ball as much as I do. So to to go out there and represent Australia against, as you said, England Lions, who we can't stand and not going to buy into all this baseball bull crap they're talking about. So
you'll fit in well.
No, I look forward to hopefully getting a few poles and getting stuck into it, that's for sure.
I reckon Rocky Flintoff might be at the top of Jordan's list. Take him out. Take the coach's son out.
Yeah, I'll get him for sure.
One thing I really want to talk about here is November 9, 2023. I wonder if that date rings any bells for you, Jordan, because you carried on like a headless chook when you bowled Usman Khawaja to win the game at the Gabba by just the 3 runs. It almost came out of nowhere because Uzi was batting so well, but they couldn't catch it that day.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a backstory behind that. Basically, Renner's got out, strangled down the leg side to McAndrew at the start of the second innings there. And we sort of obviously celebrated accordingly, said nothing to Matt, and he walked past our huddle. Well, first he tried to walk through our huddle, and he bumped into me and Jake Carter, I think it was at the time. He bumped straight into the back of us, and we sort of turned around, and he goes, "Yeah, it's all right. We'll see you blokes at 6 o'clock when you lose again."
Oh.
So I sort of kept that in the back of the memory bank, and I was a little bit fired up when we managed to take, I think it was like 8 for 80 or something, and get over the line there, and probably carried on a bit too much, and certainly didn't plan it. But Sheffield Shield wins sometimes are few and far in between, so celebrate accordingly.
I was wondering because at the end of it, you've gone the big shush, and there were probably like 15 people at the Gabba watching that game. So I didn't know who you were exactly shushing, but now we know.
Nah, there was 45 there.
45.
Mate, later that season, though, you're in the Brisbane Heat squad.
Yeah, it was a bit of a frosty welcome. There was about 3 or 4 of the boys that didn't speak to me for the first 2 weeks. So I was actually already going to the Brisbane Heat before that game as well. So. I did have good fun there. We ended up winning it all last year, but took a while for the boys to come around to me after that.
Yeah, apparently you carried on a bit like that when West Torrens won the T20 title. Is that info accurate, or have I been given a dud steer there?
No, you've been given a brilliant steer there. We played against the Glenelg Seahorses, I think they are, out at Adelaide Oval 2020 final. We got 220 and bowled them out for 60. So there was never really a game, and I think we had them about 7 for 30 at one point, and I might have given the crowd a bit. I think they had a bit for us there. There was, once again, there was about 500 people there, so I've probably got to settle down on those celebrations in front of small crowds.
I see you with your coaches you've had over the last little bit. You've been pretty lucky. You've had Ryan Harris, we know is one of the Australian greats, and you also had Timmy Payne at the Strikers, and watching from the outside, I enjoyed what the Strikers were trying to do. You look like you're trying to play an up-tempo game, and Payne really gave you the freedom to play what was in front of you. It looks like a bit of a work in progress, but some good things there are happening at the Strikers.
Yeah, I think so. You're spot on with what you said about Payne. He sort of it's not as such free reins, but he sort of wants you to go out and express yourself and I guess play your natural game. And we've got a lot of guys up top in, your Matt Shorts, Darcy Shorts, Weatheralds, Linny, who will all go out and take the game on and I guess want to score it at a free rate. So yeah, for us it's quite exciting watching them go about it. But I guess being a bowler, like especially in that first game against the Brisbane Heat, that was my first game and we scored 250 and I thought I was just on a hiding to nothing there. So it was good to go out and get the win that game. But it's sometimes watching them and how easy they do it, you just think, geez, it's not a fun time to be a fast bowler.
But what about also, have you had the opportunity to sit next to Rhino when the game's on the line in state cricket?
Yeah, I missed out in the one day first game of the year this year, and he relies on our assistant coach Stephen Stubbings just to calm him down a little bit. It was at Cricket Central. We ended up getting over the line. We took like 5 for not many at the end of the game there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never seen anything like it. And a lot of people did say that him and I would clash. We are quite similar people. We were quite similar players on the field anyway, and yeah, I can see why. I think we just both ride every single wave, and the emotions sometimes do get the better of us.
What about your captain, Travis Head? I don't hear about what happens on the field. We've seen how classy Head he is, but you must have enjoyed a Coopers with Travis Head.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the pleasure of getting him for a couple of Shield games this year, and it's just such a good head to have around, and he's so laid back. And I guess what you do see on the field and in the media, that's exactly what Headie's like. He's laid back, and I guess the only way I can describe is an absolute freak.
Yep.
He just, watching him bat it's just unbelievable. Would have loved to have him for a couple of games for the Strikers this year, but it's probably a hard-earned rest for him after that big India series.
And Jordan, you're a young man. What's the living situation right now? You bunkered on with a few teammates, or are you out by yourself? What's the plan there?
No, I'm living with Mackenzie Harvey and Jake Fraser McGurk. So we've been living together for about 6 months now.
Oh, shit.
Deary me.
Yeah. So it's been a quiet house the last couple of months. Obviously, they've been in Melbourne with the Renegades, but they're about to burst through the door at any point, I reckon.
So I would imagine then, after a win, or if he's aboard, you got a couple of days off, the first place to go is your place before you go out.
Yeah, we have had a couple. We have had a couple of beers here in our time, that's for sure. But Rooster's a bit of he likes to get out and about and explore. You know what he's like. He's actually, it'd be nice for him to pay some rent as well. He's about 2 weeks late on his rent, which is unbelievable considering he's just gone for 1.8 million.
What?
So I hope he watches this.
The Rooster waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if you'd want that.
He doesn't get out of bed before midday. He's nocturnal.
The nocturnal
That's
Rooster.
why he likes IPL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan, you've always had great success with the red ball and also white ball, that 6 for 41 against Queensland. You've got a real thing against Brisbane teams at the moment, Queensland teams. But for you, is the baggy green the ultimate goal, the ultimate aspiration?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess long format cricket's always been, in favour of my bowling, and I guess the last couple of years I've started to develop some white ball skills and I guess find my way into some white ball teams. But for me, Test cricket's the ultimate goal. Like most kids growing up, you want to wear that baggy green. I remember growing up watching that 2013-14 Ashes where Hads had a great series with the bat and they won 5-0. So I'd love to be a part of that one day. But that's the ultimate goal. And I guess to get a small taste in playing for Australia A and what it's like to wear the colours. You'd love to get there one day, definitely.
That's a good point you bring up, that series. If you ever have a good win and your coach stops you from going out and enjoying it, just say, I spoke to Hads and he was, yes, we won 5-0, but Ryan Harris, he definitely got player of the series the next 5 days after that. So make sure he knows about that when he tries to stop you blokes from enjoying a win.
Yeah, he hasn't yet, but I'll be sure to remind him if he ever does.
Just one last one before we go, and you spoke about how baggy green's your number one goal. Is that still the number one goal for aspiring players your age? I know T20 cricket and the lucrative contracts around the world are very appealing, but is the baggy green still the number one goal for young Aussie cricketers?
I certainly hope so. I think we want to have the best possible national team for as long as possible. So I do get that money gets thrown around sometimes, and there's a fair bit of it. But I guess, for me, there comes a point where playing for my country and playing Test cricket one day would certainly outweigh playing franchise cricket. Not everyone's the same, and I get that. But from a personal point of view and from what I've gathered and from what I've heard around the traps, I think it's still a general consensus to play Test cricket for your country, definitely.
Well, mate, we wish you all the best, and you've got a great audition next week when you take on the England Lions. So you can land an early Ashes blow out at Cricket Central, and mate, we wish you the best. Thanks for coming on Willow Talk.
That sounds good. And if I give any sends off, I'll send the umpires to Hads' office to get me off.
Exactly right. Give as many as you can.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, gents.
That was Jordan Buckingham. Can't wait to see him against the Lions.
Yeah, he's a bit of a character, isn't he?
Yeah.
I just listened to one of the things he said about he butted heads with Coach Ryan Harris. I said, mate, I'm just thinking, just be careful with that.
Yeah.
Mate, next time you're having a bat, Big Rhino's, he's a competitive beast, and he might put a couple into your ribs. But, mate, he's a character.
Yeah.
I like he's got the opportunity to play another Australian A game, his record. And these kids playing in these games, these are the games you want to see them stand up. You want to see them get in a bit of a contest with England. But, yeah, I like him.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a character. I'm not quite sure where he makes good decisions with his roommates, because I tell you what, mate, that there is a reality show right there waiting to happen.
That's a great shout.
Yeah.
I was going to say Redbacks TV, but they're not the
Rooster
Redbacks
and
anymore. Who was the other one? Rooster.
Mackenzie Harvey.
Yeah. Rooster, Mac, and Buck. Look out for that one. Just a quick little dive into our nerd corner. Now I know, Get ready for this, okay, everyone. I'm gonna enjoy this for the next 5 or so minutes. But Hans, we spoke off air one day about how you go about a training session as the coach, and how you sort of plan a week, how the 4 net sessions might look like leading up to a game. And I found it fascinating. I don't want to rob the listeners of this, but can you go through what each session means, what you're trying to get out of it, and how you sort of build that up to a game?
Well, I'll give you a little snippet into it. It's dependent on what you want from the week. Let's say you've got a longer prep leading into a game. So the one thing I used to do is break it down when you're riding your program is, say, technique day.
Yep.
Where guys come in individually, and that's then where you work on something you need. Are you getting your elbow up? This is a bowler that's worrying me. You look at the footage and you work with the coach, and it's all about fixing that area of your game. Then also you have a tactical day.
Yeah,
you can have a tactical day where it's about, okay, this is what the bowler's trying to do to you. Okay, this is how I'm going to score, and you can talk with your bowler. And that day's about getting a feel for what the bowler's trying to do and what your game plan is. And then there's an identity day, I call it. And this is what I reckon the modern younger players don't do enough of. Today's not about technique.
Yep.
Today is about me versus you, and it's game on in the nets. I'm not thinking about, is my elbow up? It's about getting through that session. How am I going to score? You've done your days a couple of days before, the scoring areas, and then put it all into practice. And that feedback out of that session, I'm not saying, well, let's get you. The feedback I want is, mate, everything I worked on here, and here, it worked under pressure.
Yeah.
That's what I had to do, and that's how you do it. And then you have the same with your fielding days and things. You got to all have days where, okay, I'm doing my fielding today. I'm not worrying. It's about getting myself in a position to influence the game, and it's competitive. It's you versus me versus you, or me versus someone else. Your slip catches, for example. Is my spacing right? Fuck your spacing.
Yeah.
It's today about I've done all that work, and it's about reacting to the catch. So you plan your sessions on what you need out of them. A lot goes into that, and I reckon sometimes players spend too much time on the technique day.
Yep.
Oh, I've got to get my technique right. Well, mate, you've got your technique right. Let's put it under pressure and see if it changes. Let's take a bit of that tape from that day and a bit of that tape from there. Then when you do your next planning day, is it different? And do you react differently when you're not thinking about your technique day? And you don't want to be thinking about your technique day when you're in the identity day. So yeah, there's a lot of planning goes into how you structure your session, and how the reason you're doing all that is you're trying to find a way for the player to get better. So when they go out in the center, they're just competing bat versus ball. They're not thinking about all that. So you got to get the mix right. Some players need more technical. Some players need less, and they just need more of one-on-one. But yeah.
I'm loving this. So many questions. Tactical day. Are you putting a scenario to the batter saying, righto, spin session, I've got 2 out here. This is the game situation. How do you set that up?
Well, say a tactical day, for example, and an open batter, for example, and he's gone in, he's okay, you've got the new ball today.
Right.
And the bowler's saying, this is what I'm trying to do today. What we've got to be really cautious of. We're playing, say, at the Centre of Excellence, the A game for New South Wales. Okay, we're going to go full with the new ball. We're going to only have 2 slips. We're going to have a mid-wicket today and a square leg. We want to go at the stumps.
Yeah.
So it's no point practicing that day where the ball's flying through outside off stump and it looks pretty. But tactically, you're not going to do that in the game.
Yeah.
So you've got to get the bowler thinking about what tactics are going to use and what field that they're going to do then and thinking about that. So, yeah, they're little things how you structure your training sessions.
Identity day, and it's all about you versus the batter, or the other way around. Can it get quite hostile?
Should.
It should.
Well, it should get to that point where it's game on.
Yeah.
And that's a skill to learn in the identity day. Like your skill about catching a ball, a skill also to learn is how to turn it on, how to turn bat v ball on, how to get in a contest.
Yeah.
The skill's not always just about how to catch, throw, bowl, get your feet. A skill is to turn it on when you have to compete.
And that's the mental side of the game as much as the
that's great.
tactical,
and
physical
that's where you
side.
get the best days training.
Yeah.
When you get the spinners going at the batters going at the quicks, and the quicks coming back. And another bit out of that, you say you got a quick rolled up and he's going, and all of a sudden he starts to bowl bounces and they're going over. You say, well, hang on a minute. Tactically here, when we've put you under pressure, you've gone back to this. Is that an emotional decision that happened or a technique decision? And so you can start to learn how you react in different situations, because it might have been this session when you go and bat v ball, might have been 4 on the leg side, mid-wicket, tied him in on a guy at square and go at the stumps rather than letting it go through here. And that's how I think they learn to compete in the game.
It might be someone you've coached or someone you've played with or against, but who is somebody in a day like that switches on the net session and really does take it fully seriously?
Mate, all the greats, all the greats of the game
get in it.
They get in a contest.
Yeah,
mate, they've done their technique work. Mate, I remember Matty Haddin used to hit hours and hours on the bowling machine, but when the time come to go bat v ball, mate, he was like, whoa. What have we walked into there? But
really,
mate, Pontings were the same, Martins, Hussey, Clarks. Mate, they're all the same once you had that. And then you find a balance of what works in your preparation.
And is Haydos giving it back to the bowler?
Oh, mate, they were ruthless.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to watch.
Good viewing.
Yeah, not if you're next to bat.
And is he walking down the wicket?
Hey, he's playing that situation like you would in a game.
Yeah.
He's got his plan on what they're going to do. So that's all part of being learning your craft.
I was going to say, like, that Australian era.
Are you going to stop talking about tactics?
Last one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got to get out of my system before Feathers comes back and I'm never allowed on the podcast again. When you go through those type of sessions and it does get a bit hostile, does it end there? When you walk out of that session, it's all fine?
It ends. The great teams do.
Yeah.
The great teams end there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're hostile.
That golden era, when you've got the best batters in the world against the best bowlers in the world, no wonder they didn't lose any games.
Mate, some of the most competitive sessions were those guys going against each other. Mate, Stark and Smith were always an interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
You used to look, I remember coaching, you used to look on the board, and you used Stark and Smith, Stark's practice a new ball, Smith's 3, and then the other, Matthew Wade used to be the funniest. He'd go, oh, shit, I'm batting with Smith. He goes, Stark, I haven't done anything. But it's why they're the greats.
Yeah.
They're the best problem solvers. They find a way.
Smithy is oblivious, though. He didn't know what was going on.
Mate, he loved it.
Yeah. See how he goes with his elbow taped up. Maybe Stark will look after him now.
Mate, he'll be fine.
He's the captain. He's got to look after him now, yeah. All right, Sundries, let's finish the show. That was great, Had. Thank you for...
Thank you
for doing that for me.
You
Yeah,
can think
I
about
feel
that.
great now, yeah. All right, Sundries. AB de Villiers' comeback. What's going on here? He was speaking on running between the wickets. And he said that he feels like he wants to play again. He's got one eye that's working, the other one's a little bit blurry, but one eye's looking going pretty good. He doesn't want to do professional cricket, so not IPL, any of that kind of level stuff, but he wants to get out there playing again. He loves the game, wants to do it with his kids involved. Seeing AB de Villiers playing cricket, the world's going all right if AB's playing cricket.
Yeah, mate, the guys like AB competitive, aren't they?
Yeah. You could tell we're watching. He misses
he misses the competition,
the contest.
There's opportunities now in Legends leagues. He's still a fit man, AB de Villiers. He'd be sought after, especially in a competition in India. The crowds would come.
Yeah.
And the other part of that, it sounds like he'd like to have a game with his kids.
Yeah.
And that's pretty special as a dad to maybe one day get the opportunity to play a game with your kids. So, mate, watch that space. We might see AB back.
Get him out. I'm reckon a big bash team. There's a franchise team coming out, new franchise. Sign him up. Had your kids are pretty good cricketers. Any chance in the future, you and the boys playing fifths together?
Mate,
Father-son league?
Mate, the pace of the ball might worry me. Mate, you'd like to play one game, whatever it is, a charity game or something, to one day just bat 5 overs with one of your boys.
Yeah. Do you do those sessions with them? Do you do an identity session with your son?
Mate, it's always with them because they're just there to bully their dad.
Yeah.
So, mate, Dad, can't you throw any faster than this?
Get the wanger out, get the side over, see how fast you can get it. England are playing their first T20 overnight in Kolkata, so you'll know the result by the time this podcast comes out. England coach Brendan McCullum, he's the white ball coach now as well. He says that the England's express fast bowlers won't be wrapped in cotton wool ahead of next summer's Ashes. Jofra Archer, Mark Wooder in India, they've got pretty fast fast bowling attack at their disposal at the moment. That's going to be great to watch, but if they do go down, what's that going to do to their chances of winning in Australia next year?
Well, I think England done it pretty smart, actually, over the last 12 months. They've been getting a crop of fast bowlers together, and if Wood and Archer there, that's just a cream on top.
Yep.
But they've been playing without them for so long, so nothing will change in their preparation. I like what he said. I'm not going to put them in cotton wool. You've got to now with the lead up to an Ashes, they've got to be bowling fit and match smart.
Yeah.
If they go, they've got enough fast bowlers to cover it. As I said, if they don't, you want them coming here not just with pace, but coming here with pace and some bowling under their belt so they're ready to perform. Because if you come to Australia with pace and not bowling well,
no,
it's money for jam for the batters. But they've got to be bowling well. So smart decision.
One thing they did really well in that 2010-11 series, the last time they were successful at here, is they rotated their attack. They come in. Breslin, I think, might have played all the games, but they lost Broad. They changed the attack every now and again. And to the conditions, and it worked. Everyone was fresh.
To win an Ashes campaign, you've got to have a squad.
Yeah.
And your batters will stay the same. Your keeper, you spin normally, but you need a big group of fast bowlers. And England are building that. And we're doing the same. We've got Boland there. We put Jai Richardson, sent him into surgery to get right and be at 100% for the Ashes. So everyone's planning for that now to make sure they've got a big crop of fast bowlers ready to go.
We'll just input Scotty Boland, plug him in easy.
Right.
Well, you'd probably even start with him, the record he's got against England.
Right. He's doing everything right now.
Good luck dropping one of the big three. That's for George Bailey and co. AB de Villiers wants to play some more cricket. Well, there might be an opportunity for him in the Major League Cricket because it looks like they're going to expand from 6 teams to 8 teams in 2027. Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta and Toronto are on the shortlist with a team possibly in Canada, also an option. A lot of Aussies over there coaching. Get yourself over there, mate. Get a deal.
Well, the Major League is just going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
You'll see with the Olympics, cricket's going to be in it there. So that'll give another boost to that form of the game. So, this is a league that's only going to grow. That the grounds will get much more up to standard on what you need to service these sort of leagues. But, watch this Major League. It's a pretty attractive one for players to go to spend a couple of weeks over in the US it's not a bad tour.
No, I think it's a good shout. We've spoken to a few people who have been over there, and they just said the wickets need to improve a bit, don't they? Infrastructure-wise, it's all right. They'll get the fans will turn up, but just get those wickets right.
With the climate and things like that, you just got to work on what works. And then the same happened here with dropping wickets.
Yeah.
They'll take a lot from last from the World Cup and also from the Major League last time around. So that'll all naturally improve with the money coming in, obviously, and the more cricket that's going to be played there, because it'll be a bit of a developing spot for cricket where players will want to go.
My word. We don't really hear much about drop-in pitches in Australia anymore, do we? They've sort of mastered it.
Yeah, they got it right. They? Like Adelaide's outstanding. Melbourne's got it spot on now as well. So, mate, that and they'll use all that resources over there just to speed that process.
Finally today, we mentioned him earlier in the podcast, Damien Martin. Now, obviously a fantastic batter for Australia. Not sure how good he is at Photoshop, because he's put a post up on social media with him and the new American president, Donald Trump. And in the photo, it's the Trumpster holding a Damien Martin one-day shirt, and Marto's next to him with a blazer over his shoulder, welcoming Trump back into the White House. President number 47. I don't know how it happened, but back in the day, Trump was following Marto on Twitter. He maybe got confused there or something, but
mate, obviously Damien Martin
what's
works
going on there?
Different circles to us, Sam. But
he's got the phone number of the biggest dog in the world,
mate,
so maybe
they must be tight, are they?
I don't know. He sounds like a big fan. Maybe Marto's trying to get there's the Washington Freedom over there. Maybe he's trying to get a gig over there.
Trying to get in.
Yeah. So, yeah, Marto, check that one out. I much prefer watching his back foot cover drives than his Photoshop.
He's easy on the eye batter to watch.
He was. That is us done.
Thank you, Sam.
For the day. I'm going to go and have a cold shower after that tactics chat.
I bet that's a long shower.
Yeah. Peacock and the crew will be back next week. As we always say, leave us a message, get in touch with the show, and we'll catch you again soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.